The moment my father tried to gift away my penthouse in front of 200 guests, I realized the celebration was never about my sister, it was about stripping me of control. The ballroom shimmered with gold light and crystal chandeliers, but all I could hear was the echo of his voice through the microphone, calm, authoritative, rehearsed. He spoke about unity, about how family success must be shared, about how my sister deserved a strong foundation for her marriage. Then he said it clearly. My penthouse would be her wedding present. Applause rose in confused waves. I felt every pair of eyes turn toward me. My heels felt anchored to the marble floor, yet my face remained composed. I had learned long ago that emotion is a weakness in rooms like this. That penthouse was not inherited comfort. It was the result of my first tech acquisition, years of 80-hour workweeks, calculated risks he had openly criticized. He once told me I lacked strategic patience. Now he was presenting my achievement as if it were a decorative family asset. I scanned the crowd. My sister's smile was too controlled, her surprise too delayed. She knew. That realization stung more than the announcement. A week earlier, my father had asked for copies of my property structure documents, claiming he was updating his estate portfolio. I had hesitated, but I sent them. Standing there now, under the heavy glow of chandeliers, I understood something else. This wasn't impulsive generosity. This was preparation. Before I could step forward or speak, a chair scraped sharply against the marble at the back of the hall. A man I had never seen before stood up. He wasn't on the guest list I approved. He wore a simple dark suit, nothing flashy, yet he carried himself with unsettling certainty. His voice cut through the ballroom, steady and precise. He warned my father not to interfere with my assets again, or he would risk losing his own. Silence swallowed the room instantly. My father's jaw tightened, but he did not order security to remove him. That hesitation told me everything. Powerful men don't tolerate public defiance unless the threat is real. My pulse began racing, not from humiliation, but from clarity. Over the past month, strange details had accumulated quietly around me. My assistant mentioned unauthorized attempts to access my holding company's internal registry. My financial advisor casually asked why my father's legal team was reviewing my equity breakdown. My sister's engagement had been arranged in record time to a man whose family business had recently struggled with liquidity. At the time, each detail felt isolated. Now they aligned too perfectly. The penthouse wasn't just property, it represented controlling shares tied to my broader portfolio. If ownership shifted, voting power shifted. And if voting power shifted, so did influence. The stranger's eyes met mine for a brief second, not with sympathy, but with assurance, as if he already knew the full picture. I realized then that tonight was not a family announcement. It was a strategic move. And someone in that room had decided to interrupt it. The silence stretched so long I could hear the faint hum of the air conditioning above the chandeliers. I stepped forward before my father could regain control of the room. My voice was calm, steady, years of boardrooms had trained me well. I asked him, politely, to clarify something in front of everyone. On what legal basis was he transferring an asset solely registered under my holding company? A flicker crossed his face. Not anger, calculation. He replied smoothly that families don't need paperwork between them. That answer confirmed everything. This was never about sentiment. It was about documentation. I turned slightly toward the stranger and asked if he wished to elaborate. He introduced himself as a compliance auditor representing minority stakeholders connected to my last acquisition. My stomach tightened. Minority stakeholders only intervene when ownership structures are being manipulated. He stated, clearly, that any unauthorized transfer attempt would automatically trigger a financial review of interlinked assets, including several trusts under my father's authority. A quiet ripple moved through the investors seated near the stage. My father valued reputation above all else. Public scrutiny was the one threat he could not tolerate. I remembered the missing server access logs. The inquiries from his legal team. The rushed engagement securing alliance capital. It wasn't just my penthouse, they needed my voting shares to stabilize a private deal already in motion. I looked directly at my sister then, not with anger, but with clarity. Her eyes finally lifted, and I saw fear there, not greed. She hadn't masterminded this. She had been positioned. I turned back to the microphone and calmly announced that no asset transfers would occur, and that my legal team would be initiating a full internal audit by morning. I watched the color drain slightly from my father's face. The stranger added one final statement. Any further interference would activate automatic disclosure protocols tied to regulatory authorities. That was the leverage. Exposure. My father forced a tight smile and reframed the announcement as a symbolic gesture misunderstood in the excitement. Polite laughter returned, thin and fragile. The crisis dissolved on the surface, but the power dynamic had shifted permanently. I understood now that he had attempted to consolidate control quietly, using my sister's wedding as a shield. But tonight, in front of 200 witnesses, that strategy collapsed. As the music resumed and guests began talking again, I felt something unexpected, not relief, but awakening. I had spent years proving my competence to him. Now I realized I no longer needed his validation. I needed independence from his reach. And for the first time, he understood that I was not an extension of his empire, I was a force capable of protecting my own.